The home of the homeless vegan in Laguna Beach, California. But one day we're standing Santa Cruz, California. Now, one day we were standing there with a table. We go out with a table and a display of books, and a very disheveled young man came over. Obviously living on the streets, hadn't bathed in weeks and so forth, and he had a wild look in his eye. Crazy, actually. And he was standing just looking at the table full of books. And I said, "How are you?" And he didn't answer. And he goes, "I know something." And then he stood up straight, and in a very loud voice, he chanted, "Janmad Yasa Yaton," and he chanted the entire first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam with very nice pronunciation. And I asked him, "So how did you learn that?" And he didn't answer. He just turned around and walked away. And I was thinking that that is very rare information to have. The Srimad Bhagavatam is an esoteric literature that comes from the spiritual world. And how did he know? He knew because it had been passed down through one of these containers, because a book is a... and it contains idea seeds. And when those idea seeds come from the spiritual world, they have a very powerful effect on the living entities. And by the way, why does it have such an effect on living entities? Because living entities are open for suggestions. Is that what you said, Krishnadas Kaviraj? Thank you. Deeply appreciate that. Also, look at this. This is nothing more than a miracle that I'm holding in my hand, an actual replication of the verses from the Sri Brahma Samhita. How did I get this? Well, Brahmachari brought it to me just a few minutes ago. But how did we get it in general? Sri Chaitanya Prabhu had it copied by hand. And then he gave it to all his favorite disciples. And one after another, it's been passed down through many generations, through our great lineage. It's a bequeathment to receive these seeds. And when we hear them, when we read them, they transform the heart. They make a revolution within the heart. And whoever else gets them, wherever else the seeds spill out, people begin to take up the chanting of Hare Krishna. And they become spiritually wealthy all over the world by growing these seeds and passing them on to other people. This is the best work in the world, to pass this on to others. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also gave the Krishna Karnamrita to his favorite disciples. And let's look at the Sampradaya. Let's look at our line, a summary of those in our line. Who do you see here? Are we all in agreement there? Who else? You see Krishna? Do you see Krishna?
Yes.
That reminds me, I took out a group of 5-year-olds on book distribution. And that was about 5 years ago. So now we have about 100 kids that go out on Sankirtan regularly. And when I went out with them and their parents, we were going door to door, and there's a woman standing on her front porch when we came through her front gate. And when she saw me dressed like this, and she saw the kids with me and the other parents, she said, "No, thank you, I'm a Christian." And the kids didn't understand what that meant, so they sort of surrounded her, and they were showing her pictures in the books. They said, "See, this is Krishna here, and here's a cow from the cow in Goloka Vrindaban." And they were going on and on, each one speaking to her at the same time. And she looked at kids, she looked at me, and she goes, "All right, how much is it?" In fact, just 2 weeks ago, we had what we call a Sankirtan Orientation Seminar, SOS. And at these sessions that we do annually, we have all the departments at our temple present their particular method of distributing books. So one of the departments that's been very successful is Kids Sankirtan. And kids love to go on Sankirtan with their parents It's some very nice quality time they have together. And the presenter was asked by someone who was visiting to take the course, how young are they when they first go out? And she said, you know, when you're pushing in the, what are they called? Baby stroller? She said, yeah, perambulator? And they said, actually before that. I said, what do you mean? I said, oh, when they're pregnant, sometimes they go out and the kids are also on Sankirtan. So a lot of our kids, since we started in 2007, have grown up going out and passing on this same knowledge that Krishna passed down to Brahma. Anyone can do this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave an edict for everyone to take up the work of passing on these spiritual seeds to others. Now, what do you notice that is a little bit anachronistic about the picture? Anything funny? Brahma's holding a book. Were there printing presses at that time? That's a little funny, right? It's symbolic. It shows that we are a sampradaya of the book. We are concerned, our bequeathment is passing on the knowledge that's coming from Krishna. And there are various ways of packaging it so that we can pass it on to others. Just at the present time, we have a window of opportunity where the book is very popular and esteemed in society and can be easily passed on. Let's look at a few more. Who's that? Do you all agree? Yeah. What's he doing? He's writing a? Could you be a little more demonstrative? He's writing a? Correct. Okay. Who's this? And what is he holding in his hand? Thank you. Who's that? And what's he writing? Okay, he's writing the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It could be writing the Sri Upadeshamrita. What am I holding in my hand? Yes, the Nectar of Instruction. It's a miracle that we're able to have the same information that Rupa Goswami was personally writing down, and it's available in the form of a book. Well, here's another one. The Laghu Bhagavatamrita, which just came out. Painstakingly, Gopi Paranadana Prabhu translated this, gave his commentary, and then the editors at the BBT went through and made sure that it was perfect. And now it's in the form of a, and books are, containers hold. And why would we distribute these to people in general, do you suppose? Correct. They're open to suggestion. And who's this? What's he writing? Leading the witness, I know, but still. And who are they? What are they famous for? Who can recite the verse that describes them writing books? Yes? Give him the microphone. He can stand out and build it out. No, give him the microphone. Okay, let's sing it all together. Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipuno Sadharma Samsakrito Lokanam Hitakarano Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyako Radha Krishna Padara Vrindavatana Nande Namata Viko Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako. One more time. Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako So the Goswamis, let's give them a hand back there. Goswamis of Vrindaban were famous for going through all the scriptures and compiling books. They were engaged in writing so many books that they filled up a large cart. Later on, the books of the Goswamis were taken out by Srila Jiva Goswami's disciples to pass on to many other scholars and devotees all over Bengal and around India. And now it's spread. And I wrote about an experience I had when I was in the San Francisco airport. They gave us a spot where we could distribute books in the middle of the airport. It used to be an insurance booth, but they offered it to us as a spot from which we could distribute books every day. So I met a student from Taiwan, and he purchased a Nectar of Instruction, and he was on his way home. He put it in his bag and he took it back with him. At least I saw him get on the plane with it. And I was thinking about how Rupa Goswami sat at Terkadamba and wrote his books, and if he could have envisioned there being airports in the future, if he could have envisioned the high-speed press, and this Taiwanese student taking his book that he painstakingly compiled and transporting it across an ocean. So these books now are flying all over the world. In fact, we're finding that now devotees who distribute books, for instance, in Hong Kong, then will meet people from China, where book distribution is not wholly encouraged by the government, and then they take it back and people there read it. They cross all kinds of boundaries. Who's that? And what's he posing with? Correct. But on a scale of 1 to 10, that was about a 3. Let's try it on the next one. Who's this? Oh, what did they have right behind him, by the way? Correct. Yeah. The Acharyas are distinguished by their literary contribution. They put together books. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he sent a delegation of devotees off to Britain to spread Krishna consciousness, first insisted that they have a pristine book in English to take with them as the foundation of their preaching. Who's that? What's he posing with? A big stack of books, right? Those are Prabhupada's pride and joy. When he first came to America, he brought with him... Correct. And a year before he arrived in America, what arrived before Prabhupada arrived? His own books, because he had written and published the first canto in 3 volumes of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he had distributed 16 sets to the Library of Congress in Delhi, and the Library of Congress in Delhi dispatched many of those sets to various places around the world, and one of them was the New York Public Library. So when Prabhupada arrived in America, he was preceded by his books, which arrived a year before he did. Were you aware of that? Brahmananda told me about it. And he also told me that Prabhupada used to take 3 bus passes to get up to the New York Public Library, to visit his books, and in Brahmananda's words, that was Prabhupada's entertainment, to go see his books. Because Prabhupada knew the power of the book, and that since his books had arrived on the shore, certainly the idea seeds would spill out, and they would go all throughout the society, and people would take up Krishna consciousness. Anecdotally, we heard from a few of those people today, like Naomi, right? So now we have the perfect gift to give to people all over the world. These containers that hold these seeds that come from the spiritual world. I mean, how would you feel if someone came up to you and they said, I have some seeds, special seeds. They come from the spiritual world. How would you feel? Oh, is that like a modern colloquialism or something? What? Oh, I thought maybe it had to do with something else. Okay, so, I mean, how would you feel? You would what? Be intrigued. What? Speechless. So, this is the case I'm making. These are the seeds that come from the spiritual world. The Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is the most esoteric spiritual writing meant for mass distribution and available for mass distribution that the world's ever seen. Recently, within the last 5 years, at our temple at ISKCON Silicon Valley, we made a concerted effort to distribute sets of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And at first the devotee said, well, how do we do it? And I said, just tell people what it is and see what they say. So devotees would come to people's doors and they knock on the door and they say, this is the most esoteric spiritual book on the planet. And would you like to see it? And they take it out of the box and they show them the golden covers and some of the pictures and explain some of the contents. And what do you think happened? What is it? You said you'll buy it? Okay. You can see him afterwards if he wants to sell it. Chaitanya Charitamrita. No, what do you all think happened? They were open for suggestion? They were. So people are open to suggestion. You say, you should take this. This is the most esoteric book on the planet. Let's see if you can say that. Go ahead. And do you think some people would take it if you said that? Yeah. Why do you think that? Because little Jiva is open for suggestion. You just go up to little Jiva and say, little Jiva, you should smoke a cigarette. And little Jiva, every cell in his body is going, don't you do it. And little Jiva goes, no, but he told me. It's a good idea. I saw it on the sign. The people running on the beach, there's a horse and everything. And so little Jiva takes the cigarette and he breathes in hot smoke and says, someone says, you're going to get cancer. You say, yeah, but I heard I should do this. Because little Jiva is? So our job is to tell the little Jiva that actually what's really good for you is to take this spiritual knowledge, imbibe it, which means to drink. Drink it in. Take it in, and your life will be transformed in wonderful ways. What is the time?
14.
Oh, wow. So, books are a means to achieve higher association. Yes, there are many books that are trash, but there are also books that are that give us the very heart and life of great acharyas, and we have those books.
A renowned scholar of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. His name was Joseph T. O'Connell. Recently passed away. If you'd like to get a sample for his brilliance, you can read the foreword to the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which he wrote.
Nice combination. And he helped to put together the Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita in a way that no one has ever done in history. And this was recognized by academia. And this great scholar of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, recognized all over the world, wrote about the glories of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita and Sanatana Goswami and so forth. In another article, he talked about how the books in Gaudiya Vaishnavism that we've just looked at, how all the great acharyas print and publish books, are what he calls a soft institution. Sometimes we refer to ISKCON as an institution, right? And so he said the definition of an institution is the means by which we transmit culture across time and geography. And the way that it gets passed through Gaudiya Vaishnavism, he said, is through publishing and sharing transcendental literatures that people read all over the world. So our focus is education, teaching people about the spiritual world. And one of the main ways that we transmit that is through the publishing and distribution of books, which Prabhupada was very much preoccupied with. As you all know, he came to America with boxes full of books. And the first temple in ISKCON, do you know which is the first temple purchased in ISKCON? New York, LA, huh? Toronto.
Boston. New York.
Boston is correct. And the reason was Prabhupada wanted to buy a building in America because we didn't own any property. And the reason he wanted to own property was he wanted to install a printing press. And as soon as the devotees were able to identify the building and put together the money for the first building, which is in Boston on Beacon Street, Prabhupada immediately moved a printing press into that building. Narayan Prabhu had to go there and reinforce the floor with a gigantic beam because it couldn't practically hold the weight of this big printing press. And Prabhupada also had sent several devotees, I think around 6, out into various places in New York City to apprentice, to learn how to print and bind books, he wanted them to be acquainted with all the aspects of printing books. So as soon as we got the place on Beacon Street, Prabhupada sent all those devotees there to start printing books. So Prabhupada was very much interested in the very beginning of making the books available to the world. What other things stuck in your mind? Gora.
Going back to the beginning of your talk when you were asking us our opinion on the title, and it's Mightier Than the Sword. I was reminded of when Sanjaya Prabhu was coming through Canada in 1980, and he gave a series of Sankirtan seminars, and he gave the example of how Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto was distributed profusely throughout Russia, and without any type of physical violence, people bought into it. They became very, very influenced by it, and so it was very easy to take over the whole country with this ideology. So that was one example of how the pen can be.
Yeah, that's the one that Prabhupada brought up frequently about how the communists had been expert at distributing their literature and that we should do the same thing for Krishna consciousness. Thank you, Gora.
And the idea, and the one thought that came to me about, you're welcome, the idea seeds is that, what is it now? I've heard that we've distributed 500 million books to date, approximately.
Mm-hmm.
So those are all seeds. And those seeds are lying, in many cases, dormant. And when people get the opportunity, because sometimes you hear the argument, well, we distributed so many books, but, where's the results of that? Well, the thing is, we need to keep contacting these people, because when we contact them, it's like watering those seeds. And when a devotee gives a simply wonderful, a bit of prasadam, or just even some loving, an invitation card, what to speak of another book, then that seed is getting watered. It starts to blossom, it starts to fructify.
The Mormons advertise about the Book of Mormon, and then the people call in to get the Book of Mormon, or write in, have a visitor come to their house and deliver it to them personally. And 1 out of 4 of those people become members of the church. Am I correct? Thank you. So there are ways to be very efficient in distributing books and also be sticky and be able to catch on to people. What else did you hear that stuck in your mind? There's a few devotees. We'll come right back to you.
The idea of the living entity was open to suggestion. One of my biggest fears of going on book distribution is being rejected, but the reality is people are so open to suggestions, so thank you for reinforcing that. People want to hear, want to know about something.
Yeah, and some don't, actually. There are quite a few that aren't interested. Nonetheless, a suggestion isn't like an overpowering kind of thing where we rope people in, but even just by making the suggestion, making contact with people has an effect. There are lots of people who have come in contact and not been interested and then later on were interested. When we go out into public, we do have an effect more than we know by interacting with people. Therefore, it's always our prime objective to leave people with a good impression. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told his sannyasis that they should go out every day and at least knock on 3 doors. He said, even if people don't take it, it will be good for you to go out and speak Krishna Katha, and also good for them, because even if they don't listen to you, they'll see, oh, a spiritual person came to my door. And they'll be affected by that. In fact, he went on to say that the way that we develop our spiritual body, which he called the Chit Sarira, everyone say Chit Sarira, is by getting Chid Rakta, which means spiritual blood. So the Chid Sharira is nourished by Chid Rakta. And he said, when you go out to teach Krishna consciousness and people neglect you or misunderstand you or berate you, there's a way in which you're developing this spiritual blood. So there's a great benefit even to the devotees going out and meeting people and trying to pass on this gift. It's not that everybody will take it, but it does have a positive effect on people around the world, just seeing devotees. Yes?
Hare Krishna, thank you. I just want to go back to when we were talking about that books won't die or they won't go away. And one thing I was thinking with the television and all the knowledge and the books and on the television, that when somebody says, have you ever seen the movie? You know, or I've read the book and the movie was so horrible. Because you have all these thoughts in your mind while you're reading the book, and then you can talk about the book with someone else who's read the book and what was their, what was their thought, what were their thoughts about the book. And then somebody gives you these images in a movie and it's not as deep and it doesn't mean as much or something.
Thank you. What time is it? Good. What else? 2 more in the back and 1 more in the front. So we'll take 3 more. How is everyone so far? They're all right? Okay.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation. And continuing the theme of what Mataji was just saying about the television, we've had so much, the new media that we have so many different storage devices and means, and we have the data web, but all of that continues to change. Just in my lifetime, I've just recently dumped plastic boxes full of those little floppy disks that I can't find any means of playing them, but these books are still here. There were thousands of years ago there were books, and the books are still here today. So even after the civilization and all the technology collapses, Srila Prabhupada's books will be there for us to read and take shelter.
Thank you. I do find personally something aesthetically pleasing about books. You can hold it in your hand, it becomes your friend. You can mark places in it and come back to it. And also, there's a finite amount of information within one little container. It doesn't boggle the mind so much as oftentimes other kinds of media. Yes?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, when you said that books transform the world by giving the example of origin and evolution, it really made me realize, yes, even if I've not read the book of origin and evolution, I know about it. And another point that struck me really was when you said the kids who went for the book distribution, that is really amazing.
It is amazing, and actually, I was listening to the presentation. I was so impressed. Kameshwari Dasi gave the presentation at ISB recently. She heads up that kids program that's been developing over the last 10 years. And I was so amazed. She was telling how the kids actually start to really feel compassion for people and talk about it, going door to door. Kids who go out and they learn how to meet people, face rejection, and see different environments, become very realistic about the world. They get what I like to call street smarts. Sometimes people are isolated and they even get an MBA in something and then they become a little bit, it's difficult for them to market their skills or know how to interact with people. But a book distribution is high sadhana. And Narada Muni, when he was just a little kid, walked around after his house was gone, his mother was gone, everything was finished. And Prabhupada tells how when a devotee walks around and sees how the energies of the Lord are working, feels closer to Krishna. And the kids get that. It's very powerful. They come home and they count all their own Lakshmi. They keep all their own scores. They have their own meetings. They were chastising the devotees because they were saying, you're not talking to enough Westerners. And these are arranged, they range anywhere from 5 years old, actually even younger, but 5 years old up, and some of them are now 16, and they've been doing it since they were just babies. And you can see that they're actually developing this kind of mindset of how important it is to meet people and give them spiritual knowledge.